folks? Welcome back. My name is Rudy. This was going to be a whiteboard video. This was a long-term patron, Mr. Reed, had sent me this message. He's like, dude, can you turn this a conversation or a video or a whiteboard? I was going to do a whiteboard on it. I was trying to come up with the dynamics of the whiteboard video. I couldn't really do it, so we're going to have a good conversation, everybody. I just want to read this message first. I just want to set the tone, okay? Sit down, drop your pants, set the tone. Could you talk about, Rudy, hope you're having a splendid day. Doesn't say that, I added that to the message. Could you talk about diversification within CCGs? Okay? It'd be interesting to hear your strategies about assigning expected values and variances to all the different games that I'm involved in, and how you act on those estimates. I'm sitting here, as in the patron's sitting here looking at a couple of my flesh and blood boxes and their values next to my mountain of Magic product, and I feel like I've somehow missed obvious trajectory of these games given Hasbro doing its best to end itself. I know, right? Maybe a whiteboard video on diversification. Thanks for your help. Thanks for the feedback. Thanks, Reed. Like I said, sorry, no wipe. I was trying to make a whiteboard and draw the different lines. I couldn't do it. So first, I want to go over some basic principles, okay? More established CCGs aren't going to have as much variance to the upside or downside, okay? If a Magic product ages well over a 5-10 year period, history shows that a sealed box of Pokemon or Magic, the big two, will move and can average long-term between 5 and 15% a year on a sealed product appreciation over a 10-20 year time frame. So, but at the same time, it's very rare for Magic or Pokemon to release a $100 box and the box goes to 1,000, 10x's. That doesn't really happen. Now, newer CCGs or smaller CCGs, more shallow, lack of depth in the market CCGs, Weiss, Final Fantasies, the new One Piece, Lorcana is coming. Everyone wants to mortgage their house to Lorcana, you know, and even Flesh and Blood and MetaZoo, and a ton of other new Kickstarters. And of course, soon is going to be Sorcery in a few months. These are new. The market is new. The people are new. You're new. My face is new. Your ex isn't very new. But as a together entity, we are all trying to figure out the value of these new items. And because we don't know, just like Wall Street, you will see larger swings to the upside and downside as the market tries to establish a true value of a sealed product. So that's the first thing. We got to lay out the difference between a new CCG and a vintage or a veteran or an established CCG. So you can't quite cross over the stream of Flesh and Blood and MetaZoo and One Piece and Lorcana to Pokemon. Pokemon's been around since the 90s. They're big dog. Hasbro's a big dog, even though he's kind of special, eats crayons, and Hasbro goes to cocktail parties. But, you know, they're not going to behave the same way, okay? So let's use an example of like Flesh and Blood. I've been a part of Flesh and Blood before it was even public in 2019. Very fortunate. I had no idea. The company, James, no one knew that it was going to grow, explode, and change like this, at least at this rate of speed. Anyone who says they predicted it, they're lying to you. I didn't predict it. I'm pretty confident by 99% the Legend Story Studios and James White and all them at Flesh and Blood didn't predict it. Obviously, they thought it was a good game. It would grow and take time, but nobody predicts the swings of the market. The player base entering or leaving or staying, it's very difficult to predict. Now, Flesh and Blood is a textbook example of some patrons bought Rudy Flesh and Blood Alpha kits, Arcane Rising kits, Crucible of War kits, Monarch kits, Tales kits, Everfest kits, Uprising kits, Dynasty kits. The point is, Flesh and Blood is responsible for some of the greatest wealth creation and wealth transfer for my patrons in their lives. I have probably at least 50 to 100 patrons that have made over 6 figures on Flesh and Blood because they at the very beginning, I offered it, they took a chance and they bought the max, they bought it all, and they sat on it, okay? Then at the same time, Flesh and Blood is also responsible for the worst sale I've ever ran in 7 years on YouTube, which is the Monarch sale. That, as of the filming of this video, the kit was $1,000 and it's probably 2 boxes, the promos today, $250. So 75% decline. So that gives you a great example that when you have a new product the market's trying to understand, We're not going to go into what caused it, the supply manipulation of Monarch and the success of the original. We're not going to go into that, but the point is, look at the variance, okay? Patrons who spent $1,000 and bought 4 alpha kits from me, they turned that into literally over $100,000. They literally turn $1,000 into $100,000. I remember even a patron a couple months ago bought their family, literally put $100,000 deposit on a house because of Flesh and Blood. It's incredible, and that's an amazing story. But like I said, at the same time, with great swings up comes great swings down. When you open that alligator mouth, we've talked about this, look what happened with Monarch. It dropped 75%. Now, I've never, ever sold a magic product that is 100x your money, like an Alpha Flesh and Blood did. It's kind of a black swan event, in my opinion. But I've also never sold a magic product that's dropped 75% in value. I'd say the closest product in 7 years of magic that I sold that did the biggest financial decline is going to be Baldur's Gate collector boxes. And even then, it's only been 6 months. I still think in the next 1 to 2 years, the price is actually going to go back. So in the Baldur's Gate, we're like 240, which was a great deal at the time. 240, and today they're 150 with tax, maybe 160. So down maybe what, 35, 40%, 45%. So again, you can see the difference between product movements, and you have to understand these things with the context around them. You cannot just overlap them all. So now that we laid this framework that shows that, magic, no one's made $100,000 buying magic from me. No one's lost 75% on a magic set. But Flesh and Blood has done some crazy stuff. Now, MetaZoo is similar, okay? Bigger ups and downs compared to Magic. Now, Pokemon has been extraordinary. So, Weiss has also been extraordinary. There are patrons that have been buying Weiss from me for 5 years. I have, oh my God, I had that patron a couple months ago who bought multiple boxes of the Bunko Babes for like $70 a box from me. And said they sold their boxes for like almost $1,000 a box. So things like that that happen in Weiss. And also, what was it? Goran Lagann? Persona Weiss? JoJo's Bizarre? Oh man, I can't remember the rest. I've run so many Weiss sales over 5 years. And now, recently, we have a Weiss set like Jobless Reincarnation. Was it Musami, Mush something? I can't remember. The Jobless Reincarnation set. Sold that, what was that, 6 months ago? 9 months ago? And most of those patrons have doubled their money in less than a year. Now, that is not normal. That's great that it happened, but you can't go into this stuff expecting that. So the reason I'm giving these examples, okay, and I've sold some other Weiss sets for the $59 a box kind of thing, and some of them are worth $49 a box, and they're down 10, 20%. So as the whole, the collective, the reason all these examples I'm presenting to you is on the timeline of life. We're all standing here in January of 2023, okay? If we turn around and look behind us at 2022, 21, 20, 2019, 2018, and you put all these items on the ground and drew a line next to each one, that line is going to move independent on all these CCGs. There is not a single CCG that has a perfect, well, I don't want to get too much financy, a perfect beta. There's nothing that has a perfect 1.0 beta. And I don't want to go that route because people are going to ask about what that, beta means if you have a perfect 1.0 correlation beta, it means that stock perfectly correlates the movement of the S&P 500. If the beta is a 2-to-1 beta or a 2.0 beta, that means if the S&P 500 goes up 1%, that stock goes up 2%. Okay, there's inverse betas, negative, and there's even betas that are made like 1.5. So if the stock market goes up 10%, that stock goes up 15%, or vice versa. So the beta coefficient, I'll step back from that. I apologize. So overall, none of these items move together. There's not a single Pokemon set that is going to take the exact path of a Magic set. There's not a single Flesh and Blood set that's going to copy the exact path of a Magic set. There's not a single MetaZoo that's going to copy Pokemon. There's not a single of the new Lorcana Disney that everyone's going to spend their life savings on that's going to copy a Magic set. They're all going to move independently, okay? And that is the key to the CCG world long term. Now, for those of you who've been around the channel for a very long time, you know there was this thing in the 90s and 2000s about you open an LGS, and long term, since you're self-employed, you never had a 401k from a corporate employer. So long term, your retirement plan for owning an LGS was essentially keeping a little bit of sealed product from every release you were a part of over a 20 to 30 year career. And after 20, 30 years, the wealth accumulation and appreciation of 30 years of sealed products will essentially make you a multimillionaire. That was the principle in the concept since the 80s and 90s sports card type hobby shops. Remember, pre-90s, 93 in Magic, which 95 mainstream, and 98, 99 Pokemon when it came out. Pre these dates, hobby shops and LGSs were essentially 99% sports cards. Basketball, baseball, football, hockey cards, you know, they even had wrestling cards, comic cards, Marvel, Flair, all kinds of supplemental things, entertainment cards, Cryptozoic, blah, blah, blah. Excuse me. So now we're in this era where CCGs have really taken over, at least in my opinion. Sports cards are still a big thing, just not for me. I don't like the idea of, you know, the cards' prices are based on a living person, which could get caught banging your ex or turn out to be doing drugs or something bad, and all of a sudden the value could swing because some moron's bad. I don't like that concept. I know Rudy's like, everyone in the comments like, yeah, Rudy prefers Hasbro because they burn to the ground. He right. I know. I hear you. Touche. So the principle, now that I've laid this out, I step back from this, and what this does is by being a part of so I'm a part of Magic, Pokemon, Weiss, Flesh and Blood, MetaZoo are kind of the big five that I deal in. And that's a lot of products already. And not to mention there's going to be Sorcery coming up soon, which I am going to be a part of. And I'm on the fence about Lorcana and this One Piece and all. It's just so much. And again, I don't trust these companies, Lorcana, who have no experience managing a CCG. Those people come from board games, Ravensburg, tabletop. They have no discipline or experience or proof to me that they can control print runs or manage a secondary market. Well, really, they don't have to. It's not their job. Okay. I'm skeptical. So, what happens is, since we can take the assumption that all these items move independently, what starts to happen is you can start to create an estimated value or an EV, an expected value. If you take a Magic set in isolation and say, hey, Dominaria Remastered, or no, let's just pick on the new set. The Phyrexian all will be 69. The odds are that new Phyrexia set will go up 5 to 10% a year on average over the next 5 to 10 years. That is a fact. Hey, financial advice from your cat, a guy in a basement, whatever you're trying to do, the probability of that sealed product going up 5 to 10% over the next 5 years, you can start the price on the collector box at $210, or I guess what's TCG Player is $215 plus tax, so it's $230 in the open market. Okay, so I'm gonna. This video is sponsored by myself, and you're a patron, and you buy it from me for $205 or $210. I don't know, however many boxes you want to buy. If you buy a little, you pay $210, or you buy a lot, maybe it's down to the $200 range. Let's say you buy some boxes, okay, and you pay. Let's just say you buy off TCG Player for $230 a box, and let's say the market drops 10% and goes down to $210. Who knows? And in 2 years from now, do you think that'll still be $210? And I know some of you are going to scream, of course, Rudy, because Hasbro's going to ruin everything. And then 3 years, 5 years. You think 5 and 10 years from now? Think about how much time that is. 5 years ago, that was Battle for Zendikar and Oath of the Gatewatch. Or wait, that was 7 years ago. Fuck, I don't know. You know, chances are they are going to drift up as time moves forward. Okay? So now that we know that, Pokemon is even more. Probability and long-term data shows that Pokemon appreciates 10 to 17% per year on average over a 5, 10, 15-year time frame, with some sets being 20 to 30%, but we're going to be conservative. So these are very strong numbers. Now, is this going to continue in the future? Who the hell knows? That's why it's an investment or a collectible. There is no guarantee in this stuff. It is risky. You can go 5, 10 years and make nothing. That is the reality. There's nothing I can do to sell anybody on how to get rich. I don't have a get rich program. I don't offer a monthly program where you guys can learn how to hustle and become billionaires. I don't have anything to offer you all I can do is report on what's going on, share the things I like, and hopefully a lot of you guys stick around and we kind of go on the journey together. That's all I can do, man. I have no way of getting any one of you all filthy rich. The only thing I can suggest to help you have a higher chance of that happening is working hard, doing things you enjoy, and of course, don't do stupid shit like, don't waste your money on alcohol. Don't smoke or vape, because all that does is increase my dividends for my Altria Philip Morris holdings. Don't gamble, don't buy scratch-offs, don't go out party, don't do dumb stuff. And work hard, reduce the stupid things, and it increases your probability of being wealthier in the long term. I know that's pretty boring, unsexy advice, but that is the truth of it. I don't have it. You can't pay me $1,000 a month and I put you through the school of Rudy and Chuck Norris. I just don't have that. I mean, I can train you how to repair washer dryers, but that's not going to make you rich. It's probably just going to make your anyways. But that's the point. So now when we look at diversification of these items, if Magic is 5 to 15% a year, in Pokemon is 10 to 20% a year, in Weiss is a wild card. Could be -10, could be flat, could be +20, +50. It's all over the place. The only way to safely and somewhat manage a ball of craziness is you have to take the average of all these items that move in different directions. And that gets into a more complicated calculus finance type of economics, because the best way for you all to visualize this is if you have 20 points in the dead center of a circle, okay? And at the end of each year, each one of those 20 points are going to go in a different direction. We know out of those 20 different sealed items, some are going to go up a lot, some are going to tank, some are going to do nothing, some are going to go up a little, and some are going to drop a little. But because we know that we understand that all 20 of these data points are going to move separately, remember that assumption is very important. The fact that we know that means we can derive an expected value. And that's what I do when I approach these. So let's just, and again, I don't use 20, I'm using like 100 or 200, but let's just keep it simple. So you have 20 different sealed products. 4 in Magic, 4 in Pokemon, 4 in Weiss, 2 in MetaZoo, 2 in Flesh and Blood, and whatever else you want to do. So if some of those can hit 30, 40% returns in a year, and some you can lose 30, 40%, but the most likely in the middle is a 5 to 10% return, chances are, no matter how much you make or lose on any one item, you're still going to you're going to settle in and you're going to average 5 to 15% a year. And the goal of everybody, like I've always told you, I know inflation and CD rate, the goal has always been to make between 7 and 9%. That's always my personal goal per year. If we do above double digit, that's great. If we don't, well, that sucks, 2022. But the thing is, if you can average 8% a year over a 5, 10, 20-year period, that's phenomenal. And that really is the goal. And I think that the problem with this whole situation is not really the patron read over here. The problem is perspective. Coming out of 2021, everybody got so high on their own supply and people became so insane that everybody demanded these insane 10x your money, 50% return. Rudy, I bought this and I flipped your thing for double my money. And now everything Rudy sells, I can't double my money. He's a scumbag. There's no money left in it for me. This is normal. What you experienced of those extreme returns, that was the abnormal. My job right now is I can't sell every product at a loss and then factor in theft, bad people who jump in my Patreon, buy one thing and take off, and I got to deal with paperwork and have a PayPal rep work with me, and we got to defend and we go to battle and all this stuff. We have to make money. I cannot sell everything at the best price. And I will never tell you all that when I offer products to the patrons, that remember, I have a monthly post to patrons that has like 20 things on it. And then I run, on average, between Friday and Sunday night sales every week for the last so many years. That's on average between 4 and 10 sales a month. So between those 24 to 30 items a month I offer, no, you're not going to get something for free. The key is, with that many offerings, some patrons buy everything, some buy nothing at all, and they just watch. Some people buy 1 or 2 things. But the key is, every one of these items, I try to make it where if you bought a case of 6, you're saving $5-10 times 6. You just save $50-60 on one sale on one item in 1 month. So that's kind of the engineering. And again, if you're focused on, Rudy, you're charging $210 a box. I found someone charging $208.50. If that's your perspective, I don't think you're going to have a successful long-term wealth management creation path. The key to this stuff is not trying to spend all your time chasing these pennies. The key is building positions and protecting the positions, being conservative, spreading things out, and of course, that still includes real estate, stocks, bonds. I still think you should have some exposure to crypto. You should own your own house. You should have mutual funds. You should have company. You should do all these things. You should not just be in CCGs, but you shouldn't just be in stocks. You need to be spread across for the same reason that this patron's asking about the spread of these different CCGs. You have to spread. Hashtag, you got to spread it thin. We're not going to say spread her thin. We're not going to be all giggity about it, but you have to spread it. And the more you do, the better the probability that long term you'll be right. Because I can't predict the future. You can't predict the future. Nobody can predict the future. Jimmy Buffett, Warren Buffett, your ex, Maytag repairman, nobody can predict the future. And because of that, you have to diversify. That's one of the most common questions I get from every new patron. One of the most common things I've had in 7 years. Rudy, which box should I buy this month to make the most money? Shit, I don't have a clue. If I did know, I would buy only that product and you wouldn't see me with heavy bags and everything. Because nobody knows. And the people you need to be afraid of are the people who are telling you, I know everything and I know what's going to go up. And I'm going to sell you on those are the things you need to be careful for. Those are the people that you need to be cautious for. And after that, they're probably going to sell you on a monthly CD or a program to get rich quick or some stupid thing. That's not how it works. I've been doing this shit a long time, ladies and gentlemen. And I got a lot of happy, successful, long-term patrons. I've got a lot of you all just watch, enjoy the videos. And the best piece of advice I can tell you all is it's a boring, long-term grind and hustle. And most of you watching, no disrespect, most of you watching will quit, give up, get angry, call your local store, call me, call district, call somebody a scam, blame it on your local town, blame it on a city, blame it on politics, blame it on this, blame it on a Jeff Bezos penis rocket, blame it on Elon Musk, blame it on the stock market, blame it on something. And the reality is you can blame whatever you want, but that's it. That's a fallacy. You are responsible for your choices the same way I am. When I bought into Boulder's Gate and I kept all the extra, well, that's my decision. I live with it. When I bought into some of these other Weiss sets or Magic sets that doubled and tripled my money, that was a good move. But long term, I remain with the same attitude, and that is, I still think my wealth creation and my strategy will outperform most people. Most of you watching will not be able to keep up. And the reason for that is not because I'm smarter, because I'm not. Not because I was born in a trust fund, this and that. Please, bro. If I did that, I would have been washing dishes and waiting tables and bussing and crappy stuff for 10 years. The reason is because I will outwork most of you. Period. If the average person watching this video works between 20 and 40 hours a week, and I average between 40 and 60, let's just say even 50, that puts me at 20 to 30% faster rate of wealth and work. I'm outrunning most of you by 20, 30% a week. 20 to 30% a month, and you compound that over 1, 3, 5, 10 years, I will literally outwork you, even if I don't make as good of decisions, even if I'm not as smart. That's the edge I have. And of course, I don't gamble. I don't. Rudy, you gamble on everything. Look at all the heavy bags. I don't, call it what you want. I go to casinos with friends and people sometimes, or at least I used to. And I loved watching it, but I don't really gamble. I don't do scratch-offs. I don't smoke or vape. Every once in a while, I have one drink with friends or social stuff. I don't really drink or do anything. And if you do, that, hey, you do you. I'm not going to bash either way. I got nothing against smoking, drinking, and all that stuff. It's just not for me, But at the same time, it's a long, boring path. And diversification, like this patron's asking, in my opinion, is the only free ride. It's the only free pass when you go by Go. It's the only free lunch in life, is you have to diversify to average out the swings of all moving components. And long term, it should work out for you. Many times it'll feel like shit because you're losing every time you buy something. Like last year, it just goes down. You buy into your mutual funds, your 401k, every week it just goes down, down, down. And you're like, what am I doing? I'm just losing money endlessly. I'm an idiot. And that's how it feels. And unfortunately, that crappy feeling is the feeling of doing the right thing, because we are all wired to do and react and behave the worst possible way when handling money, risk, and financial decisions. And that's the reality of it. The reality of doing what I do and hoarding things and working hard, it's not fun many times. It's exhausting. You get a ton of hate and attacks and people because you have something or you have more than other people, or everyone just thinks everything's a scam. And that's part of the path of life. And it's not sexy. It's not fun. It's exhausting. There's many weeks and months I don't make any money. I lose a ton from heavy bags and things just dropping, or I couldn't sell it. And that's just how it is. Nobody really discusses that, but that is the path of grinding and trying to build inventory and wealth and assets. That is the real answer. I don't have Hustlers University to make you all rich. And unfortunately, I can't, there's nothing I can do to help that. So I hope you learned something. It's a long ass video. Reed, thanks for being a very kind patron. I know the economy is turbulent out there. I remain optimistic for good 2023. I think the new Phyrexia set's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be successful. I hope you all stick with me. Enjoy the year. It's going to be a fun ride.